All right, everybody, welcome back. We got another episode of the Crypto Rundown here on the Crypto 101 podcast. Going to be a fun one today. Obviously, we like to do these things when big market events occur. When something big is happening, we kind of get some of the brightest minds here in the cryptoverse together to see what's going on. And guys, the Ripple decision was what I call a landmark decision. I mean, this has been fought since December of 2023. This is going on 3 years of some of the brightest legal minds fighting, the man, fighting the regulatory agency known as the SEC, and they won. Guys, this is like, I don't know, there's probably a good analogy, but this is like when the Bears won the 87 Super Bowl. I mean, nobody saw it coming. I don't even know if that happened. But Tevo, there's got to be some good sports
Rocky.
It's
Rocky.
It's Rocky. No. Everybody thought he was going to be down, but he's here. But yeah, so we're joined.
Adrian, we did it.
We're joined as always by super producer Tevo and Pizza Mind. How's it going?
Life's good over here in Sao Paulo. It's nothing but a big party full of burgers and pizza everywhere.
Okay, man. Good stuff. And the future of the generations, Brendan Veihman, the bright-eyed analyst. How's it going?
Hey, it's going good. I like that intro. We need to use that more often.
The future, the bright-eyed analyst, Brendan. No, yeah, I think that's good shit, man. I mean, there's been a lot that we've been talking about. We get together every day and talk, so we're like, we might as well just record this and put it on. But yeah, the XRP decision, we're going to dive into some specifics around there, but just to set the agenda here after we discuss that, we're going to talk really about how the Bitcoin ETF is moving forward. We've got some dates as well that we kind of wanted to talk about, some dates showing you guys when some of those filings, the deadlines are, a couple of the companies that are really big players there, and really how the whole market's going to be affected by this going forward. So if that sounds good, we'll go ahead and dive in. So as you guys know, Ripple, coming off the back of a legendary win, what basically showed that the SEC was wrong in their allegations against Ripple being selling this unregistered security. So you have to differentiate between Ripple, the company, and XRP, the token. And basically they said that you have to differentiate between the token and an investment contract. So a token in and of itself is not a security. In order for that token to become a security, it needs to be accompanied by an investment contract where the buyer and the seller have some sort of agreement between them. In the case of XRP going to an open market like Coinbase and just selling XRP tokens on the market programmatically did not constitute a securities transaction. Again, this is not legal advice, full disclosure. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just interpreting a lot of different information here. But I think that's really important to understand. That this now goes to show that a lot of other crypto companies or crypto protocols that do sell tokens programmatically, or traders like you and I, right, that trade these tokens, there's no agreement between a buyer and a seller. It's just trading on Coinbase, right? And that puts Coinbase in the clear, I think, or it sets their path with a lot less resistance, if you will, because one of the tenets of this case from the SEC against Coinbase is that they're an unregistered securities exchange. And with this, now as case law, a lot of the tokens, a lot of the trading activity isn't securities. So a lot of their point falls flat. So if that's the first kind of jumping off point, I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
I think this is a great thing for the industry altogether, because literally every team sets aside a team portion of tokens of the total amount to fund their operations, essentially. And if Ripple had been found guilty of selling unregistered securities into the open market, every single other cryptocurrency ever would be just as guilty as well. So now this puts the entire industry in the clear, which really needs to happen. Otherwise, the SEC was going to make like half of crypto's market cap in fines.
Yeah, I mean, whether you love XRP or you hate it, this is a win for the entire industry. And when the SEC came out a couple of months ago and said that they wanted to investigate BNB, Solana, Matic, Cardano, Filecoin, Cosmos, Sand, Mana, the list goes on. They had this big list of new tokens that they wanted to go after. And we were nervous. We didn't know what would happen with XRP, but now XRP won. So it gives us, quite a bit of hope for all these other tokens that they're going to go after. And hopefully it at least...
Or that they won't go after them.
Yeah.
They'll have to go after them, maybe.
I mean, they probably won't, because they're going to have to pick their battles a lot more intelligently before just going after this. And
yeah,
again, love them, hate them. We've had our drawbacks about XRP in the past, but I think we can all agree that this sets a really good precedent for the entire crypto industry.
Yeah, no, I think it's exactly what we need. I think the SEC should go back to their core competencies, start focusing on not trying to make policy, but trying to regulate the laws and go after fraud and bad actors and market manipulators. Don't go after Coinbase, who is like the golden child of the industry that tries to do everything right and try and stymie an entire industry. It's kind of ridiculous. So I think moving forward, I mean, the industry, absolutely has a lot less resistance to adoption. We have more clarity. I could see many, companies, or basically there was a whole, wall of capital that wanted to move into crypto, but they needed regulatory clarity. So now that we get that sort of clarity, you can now have new projects start that were not going to start before because they were too scared, right? You now have new projects that are going to be emerging and capitalizing, right? Raising capital and starting to innovate, because now it's not freaking deemed potentially illegal to do so. So this just blows open the doors of the imagination of the public, right? So I'm excited to see from this ruling, in the wake of it, what gets invented. What starts to actually hit the open market, and what new venues are there going to be trading, all that kind of stuff. So what else gets you excited about this? Is there any new sort of projects that you see that might have been stopping because of this, or does this kind of open your guys' imagination a little bit? See both you guys nodding your head.
Oh yeah. The one thing that really excites me is the key driver for the 2017 bull run of a lifetime may just have a sequel, and that's ICOs.
ICOs 2.0.
ICOs 2.0, and the 2.0 version is called the IEO, the initial exchange offering, and sometimes used IDEO, initial decentralized exchange offering. And let me explain why. In this legal ruling that the judge made, he was basically saying that there was no way for a buyer to know that they were trading with tokens that were coming directly from Ripple, and therefore could not say that their funds were going to fund Ripple's operation. So what that means is any company now could essentially just give some tokens to the exchange to sell on their behalf, or airdrop a certain amount of tokens to whomever. Now they don't control the entire supply. Now the market could be filled with tokens from whomever. There's now that doubt that it's not going back to this one direction. And now you can have basically this offering again. So we're going to see, I think, the next generation of ICOs once again. And that's going to be a massively wild altcoin season at some point.
It could, yeah, it might not have necessarily a name quite right yet, if it's going to be IEOs or IDOs or something of that, some kind of new variation, but it'll be as big as yield farming and liquidity mining, right? Which ushered in DeFi summer of 2020. And it'll be as big as airdrops, which was another sort of, big, distribution mechanism for all this stuff. But a lot of airdrops got stopped because they were like, well, is it a security? Is it not a security? But that's not, as far as I interpret this new law, that's not, a violation of anything. It's like, hey, you're just, giving these tokens away freely, and it's a distribution mechanism. There's no expectation of profit. There's no, it doesn't fulfill all three rungs of the Howey test. So bam, start to bootstrap, engagement on a platform or an application that way. And so there is going to be, all sorts of new stuff. So yeah, man, this is really big. This gives us a whole new runway. What do you think, Brendan?
Yeah, I mean, think about how many projects were waiting on the sidelines for regulatory clarity. And now we have that. And so with this bear market, the two main things that I saw everyone, a general consensus, is that they wanted XRP to win their case and thus produce more regulatory clarity. We just got that. And the other thing was we were waiting to see if a Bitcoin ETF could get approved. And we're now seeing that across the globe. And with it, every major financial institution that has any kind of significant amount of money wants to get in. It's happening in North America. It's happening in Europe. It's happening in Asia. It's happening in Australia now. And so that kind of begs the question where we're at here, because at least from my perspective, those were the two events that I heard from our communities of what people were waiting to see. And now we finally have it. So it kind of begs the question, what's next from here?
Yeah, no, I mean, to me, it's like you mentioned, I mean, we have multiple trillion-dollar firms that are now trying to get a Bitcoin ETF. You've got Invesco, which is $1.5 trillion. You've got Fidelity, which manages something like $3 or $4 trillion with tens of trillions under custody. You've got Wisdomtree, which is about $100 billion fund. BlackRock, obviously the big horse in the room now, $9 trillion of assets under management. I mean, this is opening up the floodgates. All these brokerage accounts, retirement accounts, pensions, endowments, mutual funds. They all need an ETF-like structure in order to buy Bitcoin that tracks relatively well with the market. And this is a absolutely really big time, and it legitimizes the industry as you have more trust, more liquidity, more transparency that the ETFs provide. So this is a tidal shift in the crypto market. It's a great time to be here. But yeah, outside of the Bitcoin ETF, outside of the Ripple decision, to me, there's things that are unfolding, like with what's going on in the ETH DeFi ecosystem with Uniswap V4, with MakerDAO becoming now 80% backed by real world assets, no longer just backed by Ethereum or backed by USDC. Synthetics coming out with a whole new user interface to make derivatives trading on chain super easy. I mean, there's a million different new interfaces that are coming online, more usability. So to me, it just feels like all the stars are starting to align, and it's all leading into the Bitcoin halving. And JP Morgan did a report maybe a couple months ago about the Bitcoin halving and how it uniquely kind of rearranges a person's psychology when you realize that the floor price of the Bitcoin halving makes the floor price essentially double, right? If you have currently now the cost of production for Bitcoin right around $20,000, it's about to get twice as hard, and you're about to get a lot less Bitcoin for every hashing sort of function that you run. So the floor price of Bitcoin is actually projected to be $40,000 right when the halving occurs, right in April of 2024. So $40,000 from less than a year away. I mean, 9 months, bringing Bitcoin up from 30,000 to 40,000. I mean, that's some serious return potential. But that's just a floor price, right? We've seen that historically the price of Bitcoin trades well above that floor price during bull markets, and so we do have a lot of promise. And it seems like again, all stars are aligning on the regulatory front. On the economic front, inflation's coming down. You got interest rates starting to reach the top. The end is in sight. Most people are saying between 2 and 4 basis points. 2 and 4 rate hikes maximum, maybe 100 basis points left to hike. But we're not staring down the barrel of, 500 basis points over the course of a year. We're not staring down the barrel of rapidly rising inflation. No, we're on the back half of all that bad news. So to me, it seems like, there's a lot of good things on the near-term horizon.
Yeah, so I'll chime in from like a social sentiment standpoint. I always kind of bring up when I started because I'm approaching a year with you guys, which has
There we
been,
go.
an awesome year. But we go back to like I was 6 weeks in, and this Sam Bankman-Fried guy takes over the news cycle, and I knew who he was, and then obviously I learned a lot more about FTX and that collapse, and that whole news cycle from there was Bitcoin's a fraud, crypto is evil. That took over the news cycle, and then in comes Gary Gensler of and Elizabeth Warren and the anti-crypto army crew. And I
Anti-crypto
remember
army.
so I have CNBC on in the background or Fox News Business just while I'm working, just to see if there's any crypto segments that I might want to clip or chase down. And I remember after that happening, everything was so negative. Like it was so negative to the point where my parents, who are not crypto literate or much financial literate, I remember my mom asking me, be like, "Hey, like this crypto guy's on Good Morning America. Like, do you still have a job? Like, is it still a thing?" And it's the classic thing on the flip side where, Bryce, I remember you saying like, "Hey, when my friend of a friend's aunt is asking if she should buy Bitcoin, it's time to sell." And so it was the opposite side of negativity. And I was like, damn, like I even back in my head, I'm like, is this thing going down? And wildly enough, slowly but surely, like that news cycle faded away. Gary Gensler, I think, has been the face of, and Elizabeth Warren, but really Gensler's been the face of anti-crypto because I think he was so close to Sam Bankman-Fried down in DC. But
Right.
I wonder if he turns into almost like an Icarus figure, where he leading this charge of trying to brush this out because he thinks it's what everybody wanted, but he's one pay stub below the people that are making these decisions, and it's going to turn on him. And all these big firms want crypto now if they can get their hands on it and run it the right way to make money for them. I just see the sentiment changing from a non-technical perspective, from CNBC to the internet. And just people, making quotes and having takes. And, it was not that long ago that JP Morgan's Jamie Dimon says, Bitcoin's a pet rock and I have more use for toilet paper than Bitcoin. And then now, but yet his firm, you just said JP Morgan's putting out reports of Bitcoin halving. So a little bit talking out of both sides of the mouth there.
That's a really good point. Like, is Gary Gensler going to tell Larry Fink of BlackRock, "Hey, come in and register"?
Yeah.
No, he's not.
Yeah, I mean,
He's gonna get flicked away.
Right. You got to kind of remember who don't bite the hand that feeds you. And I wonder, because I remember Gary Gensler was funny. Like nobody ever gets ratioed, I think, in the history of Twitter as much as that guy does. Any account that, whether it's him or a handle or tweets, the guy gets ratioed out of control. But I do wonder if there's a mental aspect of, he's kind of been in the limelight since the pandemic. Since the crash of 2020 in the stock market, he was in his little office or house with a fireplace, and people were making fun of him to get back in the office. I remember that. But I think he's gotten used to this news cycle and kind of pictured himself, or whatever his mental monologue is, of being a hero. And I do wonder if he's not going to get the memo and ends up kind of being a sacrificial lamb at the end of this, as crypto gets ushered in, hopefully for the United States to be leaders in the space.
Yeah, I could see it unfolding exactly in that direction. One thing I've learned is you don't want to go up against Bitcoin. The 14-year chart will show you that anybody in the long term who has tried to stop this thing has lost. This thing started at $0.00 and is now $30 or $30,000. And it's been around for 14 years, and it's gotten adoption in every single country. And you were small-minded to think you can stop this most decentralized sort of contraption that's ever existed. And so I think that, people like Gensler will be humbled in due course. Already starting to see the beginnings of that. People like Elizabeth Warren will be humbled in due course. And a lot of people are taking their medicine, right? I mean, Larry Fink seems to be like the guy who's now on Fox Business and CNBC, again, 2 years ago saying Bitcoin is an index for money laundering, and now saying Bitcoin is an international asset to hedge, currency fluctuations and currency depreciations and stuff. I mean, shit, man, it's about time you got on. But hey, better late than never. So it's great to see, really the fabric of the traditional financial institution kind of world start to change their tone, change their mind, and just in time, right? Just in time, like I said. So yeah, so those are the things that I've been thinking about. Anything else that you guys been thinking about?
I just saw a Larry Fink quote today that said that crypto will transcend traditional currencies, and he made sure to include in there even the US dollar. So I just wanted to kind of echo that. Like his perspective has done a complete 180. And over the past 14 years that we've known Bitcoin, it's been declared dead 474 times, if not more than that. And
way more than that, yeah.
Just according to the official, I'm sure you guys have seen it. The official.
Oh yeah, the Bitcoin obituaries.
It's an amazing place.
Wait, there's an official counter, online. Okay.
Yeah, you can see.
Yeah, Google Bitcoin obituaries and it'll come up. Tracks like headlines.
You can see the price that Bitcoin was declared dead at, and then it links the article that declared Bitcoin dead over the last 14 years. And it's amazing. And despite all of this,
400. Sorry. Go ahead, Brendan. Finish your thought.
No, I was just going to say, despite all of this, Bitcoin has never gone offline. It's never failed. We haven't seen Bitcoin's mainnet go down. It's still running. It's still climbing in price. It's like Bryce said, it's just defeated everyone. It's proved all the haters wrong.
Yep.
So we're at 474. The most recent is April 22nd, 2023. Crypto is dead in America. And then the oldest obituary is December 15th, 2010. Why Bitcoin can't be a currency.
I wonder where that guy who wrote that article is today.
It's like, who was that one famous investor? Frick. I should have even brought it up if I didn't know off the top of my head. He's famous. He said that the fax machine or the internet will have no more of a because the internet will have no more of an impact than the fax machine or something like that. And he's like super anti-crypto.
Paul Krugman?
Yeah,
Paul Krugman.
Paul Krugman.
He's always dooming out.
2005, it'll become clear the internet's impact on the economy will be no greater than the fax machine.
2005, dude. Like
shout out Paul.
So this is the same class of character that is like saying crypto is not going to have any impact and nobody ever wants to use crypto because who wants to fax things? It's like, dude. Whoa, you got to check yourself before you wreck yourself again.
Imagine all, and this is just a general statement for the market of crypto and stock market, really. Like, that there's that saying, it's sell in May and go away. That was not a good way to look at it this year. I mean, if you got rid of your bags or didn't get invested in the market in May, and you're sitting here halfway through the summer, you missed out on a lot.
Yeah, no, there's. There's this has been a great summer. I mean, man, who was going to see BlackRock come into the market just in the dead of summer, June 14th, June 15th? Everybody's away from the desk. Markets are illiquid, and this thing pops 30% in like just a couple days. Incredible stuff. And then like the Ripple decision, moving that $25 billion pretty much in just 4 hours. So. Big week. Boys, thank you for joining as always. The Crypto Rundown.